Hello, my name is Vicky Flanagan. Welcome to Sacred Sessions Ireland, where we gather online each week to connect to the sacred land of Ireland. Díomh is Misha Vicky Lanagan, Fáilte roh chuig sesiún Hocráilte éire tágmid le chéile líon gach seachtain chun ceangail a thuthú leis an talún bheanathe deireann. So as you can see, I like to put in introduction as Gaeilge just to bring in the native tongue. Even though I'm not great at speaking Irish, I think it's always nice to put that in there as well. So Sacred Sessions Ireland is a space where we can gather online, connect to the land of Ireland, and take an energetic journey connecting to the sacred sites of Ireland. This is for people that want to rebuild their sense of belonging, that want to feel that sense of connection to their ancestors, to the land, to the earth, and to themselves. So I do recommend joining live sessions so we get to be part of a community and we get to ask questions and even share some insights, because it's always lovely to share with one another. I'm excited for today's session. So we're going to take an energetic journey to Athgreany Stone Circle. And the theme for today is to navigate the unknown. So first, the Athgreany Stone Circle, it's located in a place called Hollywood, which I think is very, very cute, in Wicklow in Ireland. So there are many stone circles, as we know, in Ireland and England and across Europe. And there's a lot of stone circles that are known as Piper stones. So there is a story around that. But the Athgreany Stone Circle is one of the most famous or well-known, especially in the area of Wicklow. And the name is, I think it's like an Anglicization of I think it's Athgreany, but in Irish it means field of the sun. So it's a very ancient site that's recognized as a heritage part of Ireland. And I believe it's about 3,000 to 3,500 years old. And it does connect us to our pagan past of sun worship, ritual and celebration of the different seasons. So the stone circle there, I think there's about 14 granite stones. There was more. So we don't know exactly how many there was. There's talk that there was up to 29. But the text for some of these sites is very fragmented. So it's difficult to know exactly what existed so long ago, especially because it's before pre-recorded history. So of the stones, there's an outlayer stone. So there's the ring of stones, and then there's an outlayer stone, which is about 30 meters from the ring, the main circle. And that's a glacial erratic stone. So this is known as the Piper stone. And then the stones within the circle are known as the dancer stones. So I'll give you just a little bit about the Piper story. It's quite straightforward, and it's also told in association with other sites, again, across Ireland, across Europe. But the story is that there was a piper and a group of merrymakers, as they're called. And the piper led the people on a Sunday dancing in a circle to celebrate the sun. And because it was the day of, it was a Sunday, it was the Sabbath, they were punished and they were turned to stone because they defied the Sabbath. So that's the story. It's kind of like a sad tale. And that's kind of part of the theme that I want to explore today. But first, I just want to talk a little bit more about the site. So archaeologists confirmed that there's two entrance stones, and they're directly opposite the ancient Piper stone, the outlayer stone. The outlayer stone in most stone circles are known as like the pilot stone or the key stone, and it's marked. So like Newgrange, they're like the curb stones, there's lots of engravings and markings. It's the same with the Piper stone. There's actual markings which people believe are like the direction, so north, south, east, and west. And the line on the autumn equinox, the sun shines directly along the line of this outlayer stone. So most likely this kind of stone circle acted as a calendar. So for our, for neo-paganism, our ancestors, it was like the solar year, and it was divided into different what we would say like would be our festivals. So the main festivals, we talked about this in the last session of the Celtic calendar, where there's Imbolc, there's Bealtaine, Lughnasadh and Samhain, the major kind of Celtic festivals, as well as the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and then the equinoxes. So most likely it was used as a calendar, and absolutely they celebrated and welcomed every single season. We also know that neo-paganism, there is a ritual and sacrifice for this specific stone circle. I don't believe that it was excavated. However, I think, human, or not human, but bones were found there. Those kind of remains were found there. So we don't know for sure if it was used for burial. Most likely sacrifices, animal sacrifices would have been common as part of ritual and celebration and sacrifice to the gods. Pagans that wanted to secure a bountiful harvest, or to, put in their sacrifices, their rituals and prayers, so that the winter wouldn't be as harsh. Irish, we're known as a deeply superstitious people, and this is mostly seen with regards to, fairy folk and the hawthorn. So maybe I'll actually share a picture. I'll Google an image, because it might be nice for people to have an image of this stone circle. But there is a hawthorn tree that's like gnarled, and it's like has become part of the monument there. It's part of the structure. And hawthorn trees are also known as fairy trees. So they're seen as like a portal to the other world. And there's lots of ribbons and like trinkets usually tied onto these trees. And when I arrived, there was lots of ribbons, and I kind of was like, oh no, because I didn't realize there's going to be a hawthorn tree, so I didn't bring any gifts or offerings for, fairies and the beings that might live here. So I don't know if it's my ancestral superstition, but I was like, oh no, I have to give something. So I was drinking a coffee, and it was really delicious coffee, but I gave my coffee, I had to give something. And I just thought it was funny, because as much as I don't agree with being superstitious, we'll say, like our ancestors would have felt it was highly unlucky to interfere with the tree, and they almost gave gifts as a way to appease the fairy folk. But for me, like, it was a little bit out of that superstition, but also out of like love, and just to say hello and give my gratitude, sacrifice of my delicious coffee. Also, hawthorn in flower medicine, it opens the heart. So it opens up to giving love and receiving love. It can help to heal heartache, and it's also associated with like protection. So we can develop courage as well. So I just thought that was really interesting, how the hawthorn tree and its medicine is woven into this structure and this monument. When I traveled there, so I drove there, and it's very easily accessible. You kind of park up beside the road and walk up this big hill, and the stone circle was there. So it is on farmland. There's kind of sheep and horses in the distance, so it's really nice. You can kind of just hang out up there. But when I went there, the energy felt quite dormant, if that makes sense. There, I met, we'll say, usually there's beings that are welcoming, and kind of that are protecting the land, or live there, and or play there. And for me, I kind of felt the energy of druid, and kind of the energy was, what it means to lose our magic. And maybe that's why the energy felt a little bit dormant, or almost like suppressed. It's kind of like us, as humans, we can be that way too. If we suppress our joy, if we suppress ourselves, or our magic within, it can become dormant. Something usually needs to come along to awaken it. And usually when I visit cairns or stone circles similar, I see, through my mind's eye, I see the pagan sisters or aunties being in ritual and celebration, like dancing around these structures. And in my vision, they're in white, they're happy, they're joyful. It's very ceremonial, and it could be ritualistic as well. So it was strange for me not to see that, not to feel that energy. So when I read about the Piper Stones and that story, that sad story of like the merrymakers that were celebrating the sun, and because it was on a Sunday, they were punished. It felt like the stones were almost like cursed. The rigidity to the magic within, it was like suppressing that magic within. Also, that story is heavily influenced by the Catholic religion. I think there was a point in Ireland where we were like the town of Footloose. You couldn't sing, you couldn't dance without that punishment, and I think a lot of us still carry that today, even if you're not Catholic or didn't grow up in Ireland. We do even punish ourselves internally, unless we feel like we deserve to sing, to dance. If there's a reason to celebrate, have we earned it? There's a lot of conditions around being playful and joyful and creative. We almost need to have a reason or logic around it, so we can kind of shy away from being joyful because it feels really vulnerable. And maybe this is rooted in history because of shame and guilt that was put on us. Or maybe it's just the structures and the systems that we live today. But I think it's important to ask ourselves if we have permission to flow through life, because I think joy and bringing joy and celebrating the different seasons of our life is essential. There's no way through it, really. We have to flow through life. And if we don't, I wonder, is that just what if we don't flow, what are we doing? Are we rigid? Are we suffering? So, when we talk about having permission to flow in our life, what if being in alignment with your higher self, your purpose, your soul self, what if that means that you're kind of going against values of a culture or a system that you grew up in, or the systems that exist today? Would it cause you to suppress a part of yourself so that you can live a certain way, to be kind of part of the status quo, or to feel safe? Sometimes we create rigid ways of being, or we suppress really important, beautiful parts of ourselves, deeply human parts of ourselves, but also very divine, as a way to feel safe, to feel like we belong, to feel like, to stay away from any fear of being punished. So that would be, a question to ask ourselves. Do we unconsciously punish ourselves for our life when it doesn't look like that of our friends, of our group, or even worse, if it doesn't look like the strangers on Instagram? What if our life doesn't look like that? So, it kind of goes to that Buddha, and what Buddha says about the unknown is like, we have free will. It's like that paradox of free will. We have free will, but not without conditions. So, I think we can all agree that we don't always celebrate the different seasons of life, the seasons of life that don't look like, picture perfect, don't look like the movies, what we wanted to manifest. Sometimes it seems like less rewards in life and more lessons, even really tough lessons. And we don't expect in nature every season to be the same or the way it was before. We always allow space for the unknown, because if anything is certain, it's the unknown. So we can hope that winter won't be as harsh as the winter before. We can expect rain, especially in Ireland. We absolutely will expect rain in Ireland. But even though it doesn't really snow here, there's always that possibility that it might snow. And the same for summer, for places that experience drought, they still hope that there won't be a drought next summer. But we cannot control it. We're kind of, instead of being at the mercy of nature or at the different seasons of our life, I believe we can be in devotion. And there's a big difference. One is in fear and one is in love, in realizing that we're not separate to nature. Just like nature, we can't predict the seasons of our life, but we can prepare the best that we can. So for me, I mean, that preparation looks less like, saving for a rainy day, even though that's a great way to prepare. But, for me, it's become always trying to live in alignment with my, inner wisdom, being devoted to what is. So I'm always present for the medicine that every season holds. So, often my greatest pain, I can only really speak for myself, but our greatest suffering is usually the pain of trying to control the soul, the bigger aspects of ourselves, to try and control that when we should be present to receive guidance. When we're receiving guidance, we're flowing through our life, through our divine destiny. We're ready, we're present for any divine appointments that want to show up. When we're trying to control our soul or our life, we tend to anchor, feeling separate to what is. So I wanted to draw that kind of comparison to neo-paganism, in the sense that it would have been common to have to worship nature, and truly pagans love nature, revere nature, but there's that worship element where we can see that through ritual and sacrifices, where there's that separation exists within the ritual. So it can be felt like fear-based, so if I give you this, I'll be rewarded that. I'm giving this, it's a sacrifice, so I expect something in return. There's bonds to it. It feels imprisoned, in the sacrificial act imprisons us. Whereas when we're devoted, it brings us into oneness. It helps us to recognize that we're one and the same. And to being devoted to the unknown helps us to kind of stop thinking, what can I get from this? And instead we think, what can I give? Realizing that we can't always control the unknown, but we can control how we show up during it on our journey. So, so when I was talking about, sacrifices, when people say to us, because I feel like it's so common for people to say, we hear it even in movies, I sacrificed my youth for that person, and then they broke up with me after all these years. I sacrificed my life for my job. I never did anything fun. I don't know whether to share this or not, but my dad, he had this saying when I was growing up, and he said, when he used to say, I don't know what to, he used to say, I'm busting my bollocks. He used to say, I'm busting my bollocks every day for you and my sister. And, I look back on that because my sister almost said it the other day. We were talking, she just bought a house, and I was saying, it's amazing you were able to buy your own home. And, she said, I was busting for the last few years, I've been busting mine. And she stopped dead. And we both kind of looked at each other really shocked, like she was going to say the same thing that my dad had said for years. And she's like, oh my God, I don't even know where that came from. I nearly said, and I said, I know what you were going to say. But, we don't know exactly why people say the things they do. I'm sure my dad heard it from his dad. When I reflect back on it, I remember when he said those things, when he said that, he obviously felt burdened by roles and responsibilities as a parent, but what it would do to me would make me feel like maybe I was actually I was a burden. So being a child or being a teenager, you're helpless to be able to help, monetarily or different ways. So the ways that it would control me was my behavior. By my dad saying that he was sacrificed, busting his whatever every day, that would make me think, okay, unconsciously, these are things that we don't really think about, but we just become rigid. I would suppress parts of me that maybe wanted to dance for no reason, wanted to be joyful and bubbly and joke and sing. I would become really quiet and perceptive and to be, polite. So whatever it looked like to be good, I would become that because of the sacrifice that my dad was making. So you can see how being like sacrificing, when we say, I sacrifice this, it's absolutely out of fear. And it's a great way. We think it's a great tactic to try and secure our future or a certain outcome for the future. So I often wonder if, is that the same for us and our divinity? Is that the same for us and God? When we're in fear, our actions tend to move to sacrifice so that we can control an outcome or a person. And they anchor us. They anchor us in separation, in illusion, in the past. We separate from one another. So instead, I feel like moving into a practice, a devotion of the unknown, means that we come back to ourselves. We actually are devoting ourselves to oneness, becoming closer. My first experience with oneness, or that devotion to the unknown, that I can think of, that I can remember, would be when I started horse riding. And, I started at the age of 4. And even though I had, really good teachers and instructors, I always believed that I almost taught myself horse riding, because I learned to move with the horse. Like, horses have feelings and emotions, and some days they were in good humor and other days they were bad humor. They did not want to jump. I could feel when the horse was going to pull out of a jump. I could feel if they were going to stop. If they were in a bad mood. It was so important for me to be in tune with the horse if I wanted to survive, number one, but if we wanted to be successful. We didn't know if we were going to win the competition, but if we wanted to enjoy the journey, be present for every single jump or lesson or whatever it is, for me, that was devotion. We were in it together. It was like a oneness. For us to achieve that, we had to be in sync. And that was kind of my first experience with devotion. And what it means, because you can't control a horse. You think you can, we have a saddle, we have reins, we have legs to hold on or squeeze and make them go faster. But all the years I was horse riding and show jumping, you cannot control a horse, not truly. And I think this is the same for our life. We think we can, we like to think we can control, but the more we think we can, the more we dig our heels in, and the more that we're weighed down. And not only do we feel like a burden, but everyone around us can feel like a burden too, when we use those kind of shitty tactics to feel safe, those sacrificial tactics. What am I getting from this, rather than what can I give? And my last example, because I think it's nice to have a little bit of context for myself, but my own intuition moved me to Vancouver. So from Dublin, I wanted to move to Canada. And I followed my intuitive hit to go there. And when I was in Canada, I lived in Vancouver for 7 years. And then I followed my intuition back home to Ireland. And that story is definitely for another day. I won't tell that story. But when I came home, I can admit now, but I was genuinely so proud of myself for following my intuition, even when it was going against what my group of friends were doing here in Ireland and in Vancouver. The fact that I was following my intuition to do something that wasn't really mainstream, I thought, I'm doing it. I'm proud of myself. But when things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, I started to get really rigid. I started to allow kind of old programs and narratives to grip me. Fear started to filter through even prayer. And this is the prayer when you kind of go, please, God, I used to say, please send me the money that I need so I can do your work. Like, that was my prayer, deeply in fear. I couldn't go to the land anymore. I used to love visiting the land. I couldn't go because I'm supposed to be practicing reciprocity, where we show up to give and then receive, never taking. And if I showed up to the land with that fearful energy, that kind of sacrificial, I sacrificed my beautiful life in Vancouver for you, that illusion of that sacrifice, I would not be in integrity with this work. So instead, I prayed, my prayer changed from, please God, give me the money that I need so I can do the work, to, please God, take away my need, that desire for this money so that I can do your work. And the moment I prayed like that, everything, the moment I surrendered, it immediately changed. My prayer was answered immediately. Not only was I free from the anchors, the burden that I felt I was and my life was, but I actually started to flow again. So I started to receive gifts, serendipitous encounters, opportunities, small things even that brought me back into alignment with possibly destiny, possibly things that are happening whether I think I'm controlling it or not. So I really believe actually now that destiny happens regardless, but to bring us back into alignment means that we can stop, and instead of asking what am I going to get, we're asking what can I give, so that even though we're going along our destiny, we can actually enhance our life and the lives of others through what we give. That's the gift. That's what we have control over, rather than the outcome. What gifts can we give along the way? How much light, how many anchors can we let go of, and how much light can we hold? So I really like that quote from Thich Nhat Hanh that says, you must love in a way that the person that you love feels free. And I think this is really important to also remember this for ourselves, and our work and our purpose, especially when it comes to purposeful work. I do believe that we have soul contracts and a destiny. So maybe that's like a soul blueprint. I believe that we came here with gifts and talents, and we have divine appointments for that when those are awakened and activated, like the idea that we're awakening the magic within. This could be a specific gift that we came in with that along our path becomes awakened or stirred. And that's our greatest contribution. So, I think it's nice to give a story with this. I don't know if anyone has heard of, I'm sure you have, Richard Wagamese. He's, quite a famous author and poet. And when I think about Richard, I don't know why, sometimes I just want to cry just because his energy is so beautiful, but he's passed away now. He died at 61. And I got a chance to meet him kind of. When I worked in St. George's School in Vancouver, he was a guest speaker, and he spoke of a time when he was in Canada, and he went in to get a coffee and some breakfast, and there was a homeless man in there, and the people there wouldn't serve the homeless man. And Richard said, he's my friend. I'm having breakfast with him today. I'm let him get whatever he wants, and it's on me. So then Richard sat and had breakfast with this homeless man. And he said, since that day, he met that man once a month for breakfast. And, when Richard, I actually want to cry just thinking about it, because he carries so much light. And, Richard's aura, not that I usually could ever see auras, but I could see his aura, and it was really incredible. But his story, and I do urge people to read his book. It's called, one of his books, it's One Native Life. It's about his life story. And, he grew up in foster care. He was taken from his tribe where he was being abused, and he was taken into foster care, and he grew up in foster care, but it was incredibly lonely and even abusive, and writing stories and poetry, he said, got him through it. And then at the age of 15, he ran away because he couldn't take it. He ran away to, I think, Miami Beach, I want to say. And, he talks about all the heroes and the icons. And although they weren't, in his words, Indian, because I should say Richard Wagamese was, he was born in Canada. He was native, indigenous, calls himself Indian. So he had a tribe and was taken from that tribe into foster care. So when he ran away, um, he decided to get a slice of meringue pie, and he went into the diner, and he was sitting on the diner having his pie, and someone came and sat next to him, and it was Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali also ordered a pie, and he got his autograph. And because he was one of his icons, that chance meeting with him, he said that meeting kept him going at that age, 15 or 16, that kept him going. And then Richard went on to, he had issues with alcohol. He was homeless. He was like a nomad across Canada. And he took shelter in a library. And in the library, he started to read a lot. So he would go there every day, and he would really try to challenge himself with complex books. And that's where he learned to write, and became a journalist. So he actually got his first journal, like he became a journalist, got his first job working for a First Nations magazine. He then later won awards for his work and for, I think, the Calgary Herald. And he was the first Indigenous writer to receive that recognition. Then when he was 23, he decided to go home to his tribe and kind of reconcile the pain there. And usually in tribes, everyone has a role, and he received the role as a storyteller. So, there's so many beautiful things that happen in Richard's life, even though it was incredibly painful and there was a lot of sadness. Johnny Cash really supported Indigenous people, and he was, up to date on everything that was happening. And he had read a lot of the columns that Richard had written in the Calgary Herald. So he actually met Richard Wagamese when he was on tour, and they discussed all the issues of Indigenous people, and they had a great bond. He also loved John Lennon, and there's a really beautiful quote that he had about John Lennon, where he talks about the song Imagine, and he was devastated when John Lennon actually died. So Richard Wagamese, I could definitely feel the light from him, and he learned that all through life, it's not so much that we're learning to shine our light, but most of all, we're learning how to uplift others and help them shine their light. So that's what kept him going along his own destiny. I actually think also Ram Dass, we don't have time today, but Ram Dass also, when I read his story and his life and the chance meetings that happened and the divine appointments and where it led him, it's no accident how these things happen. And all we can tell from these stories, and the most uplifting, most powerful stories, are those that use their free will for good. They choose to lift others up on their way up. It's the power of choice, of being kind. To devote ourselves to the unknown means that we don't pass off our pain. We don't anchor ourselves in fear. We're free to flow and to be present for all those divine appointments and lovely things that happen. So for me, instead of worrying about the future and stressing about the unknown and trying to control what's going to happen or why it will happen or how it's going to happen, I can live through prayer, through service, through acts of kindness, lifting others up on my path and trying to live in alignment with my higher self, so that I can be present for life and not weighed down by fear or pain or blame, anything that's anchored in illusion. I actually would love to read the quote by Richard Wagamese and what he said about John Lennon, because it's really beautiful. I think it's important. Just 1 second here, I'll find it. So Richard says, "He always felt like an Indian to me." This is about John Lennon. "When he sang, he touched me. His poetry reflected how I felt in my world, and when he died, I felt a chunk of me removed, like those thousands of others. In the words and music of this white rock and roller, I found the essence of the warrior way. It's not about being bitter or resentful. It's not about getting what you think you're due. It's not about blaming history for the condition of your life. It's not about revenge for injustice. It's about living a principled life despite the seeming crap of life, about living with soul, about embracing the flame of your spirit and allowing it to shine regardless. It's about embracing the light of others too, regardless. John Lennon wasn't native, but he was a tribal person and he was a hero of mine. I'm not embarrassed to say that. He stood for peace, for understanding, community, harmony, balance, family, love and respect, Indian values, the Indian way, and I wish more people had listened. Imagine if they had. Imagine. So I love that. And, he also says that when he went through when he was trying to, reconcile with his roots and come back to what it means to be Indian, he kind of went far out. He said he used to have the long hair and the moccasins, and, he had a lot of rage and anger inside him. And when he met one of the elders from his tribe, they said, first, you become a good human being, then you become a good male, and then you learn to become a good Indian. And I think it's the same for all of us. First we are human beings. And next, with regards to being Irish, that's a big part of who we are too. So everyone's journey is different and how we receive this information is different. I'm hoping that today we can have a meditation where we get to set intentions to dissolve rigidity and come into flow with our highest path, and also to create a connection with the Athgreany Stone Circle, with the land there, and offer a healing that way. So we can always come back to this group container that we're going to set today, because navigating the unknown isn't a one-time thing. It's something that we're going to do again and again and again, because we always want to come into that sense of freedom, that sense of oneness. So that's what I hope this is. I also hope that this is a space where people remember that they matter, that their life matters, whether they do something that they believe is a really big thing or not. Our contribution is just showing up as ourselves. And it's really important to remember that. So that's my intention for this too. So for these meditations, sometimes they go deep. So, you're always welcome to lie down and enjoy them. And if you fall asleep or, you feel like you pass out, that's okay. But I like to sit up and just have something on my back just so that I'm comfortable, but I'm also present and alert for these meditations. Do what feels good for you. And I'll give everyone a second or a few minutes just to kind of get ready for the meditation. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes. Maybe let's just take a few deep breaths. I spoke a lot. So anything that you want to leave outside of your energy bubble, outside of your aura, you can do that now. So we're going to come together as a group. And we're going to imagine that there's this really beautiful energetic bubble that's surrounding our group today, and anyone that wants to watch this as a recording. Everybody is welcome and included in this group container. And we're going to ground our container, our group bubble. So let's imagine a really beautiful earth cord moves up deep in the earth. And this can be maybe gold, shimmering gold color. It could be earthy like a tree trunk. However this shows up to you is perfectly right. So let's imagine this earth cord moves up to attach to the bottom of the container. So we're connected to the earth. We're also going to bring in our connection to the universe. So let's imagine above our group container, above our bubble, there's a really beautiful cord this universal energy that's pouring into the group container. You can imagine golden or white light and lots of sparkles, lots of natural healing properties. Let's welcome each other here today. We're going to bring in our guides and our vaster wisdom. Let's set some intention. So again, we'll set the intention that we're here in community. This is a safe space to explore and learn more about ourselves, to deepen our connection with ourselves, with the earth, with Ireland, to reconnect with the land of Ireland and specifically Athgreany Stone Circle. We're going to ask that this container help us to dissolve any rigidity in our field, in our aura, anything that's preventing us to flow with our highest path. We're going to set the intention to release and transform fears that are anchoring us in pain, illusion, or in the past. We're going to increase our permission to be authentic, to follow our North Star, our highest path, and to have great faith and trust. We're going to set the intention to flow with life through every season and become devoted to what is, through shining our own light and helping others shine their light too. And if there's any personal intentions that you would like to set for today's session, you can do so now. So let's invite some earth energy that wants to contribute and complement these intentions to flow into our group bubble. Same with the universe. Let's imagine all those beautiful sparkles and divine light pouring in, sharing its wisdom and deeper insight. We're also going to welcome in any beings specifically working with Athgreany Stone Circle that would like to contribute to these intentions. They're welcome. We're grateful that they're here. I want you now to bring your attention to your own personal aura. So your own magnetic field, the bubble that surrounds you. We're going to refresh our grounding cord. Let's imagine a really beautiful earth cord moves up deep in the earth to attach to the bottom of our feet. Let's allow this earth cord get as wide as our bubble, maybe the width of our shoulders or even wider. And just give yourself permission just to exhale into the earth. And again, I did speak a lot and maybe it kicked up some things or some resonance. Just allow your guides or your inner wisdom to choose what information is integrated, and you can now leave some information outside your personal bubble. You don't have to process everything today. And we're going to welcome in our own universal cord. So let's imagine again that cosmic energy, universal energy pouring in above our aura. And just like the sun, as it moves down, it burns away any energy that doesn't belong to us. Any energy that doesn't belong to us is going to be sent back to its higher self. Even using our own intuition, we can find any energy that's inauthentic in our field and just give it permission to be released into the earth. And we're going to ask our guides and our inner wisdom, we're going to recall our own authentic energy. So let's imagine above our head, there's a beautiful golden sun. And this sun is going to recall our authentic energy, recalling it from our past, projections into the future, recalling it from our day, different people, back into this golden sun where it will be healed and blessed and updated to who we are today. And we can imagine that there's a lever on this sun, and as we pull the lever, the sun opens and our authentic energies pour into our aura to be reintegrated back into our being, to fill any spaces, any gaps. So now that we're resourced and we're together as a group, we're going to take an energetic journey to Athgreany Stone Circle. So we can imagine that we're here on this field. And in front of us, we see the 14 stones, the outlayer stone, the hawthorn tree, and any mystical beings that live here, protect this land. And we're just going to say hello. We can do this by walking by each stone and just saying hello to each stone. Moving in a circle clockwise. And as a group, if we want, we can stand or sit near these stones in a circle. Remembering that we are nature too. We're not separate. And we're going to introduce ourselves to this land. We're going to tell this land who we are, where we're from, what year it is, maybe what our hopes and dreams are, our intentions. And we're going to ask this land, this sacred site, what does it need from us? How can we support it in what it's up to? Sometimes you might hear we might be requested to make a commitment. Maybe it would like an energetic gift like love or gratitude, respect. Maybe it wants a specific color. And we're always going to say yes and make that energetic offering. We can imagine that to show love, we open our hearts, allow the energy of love to flow over the land. We can make offerings of gratitude. We can offer a whole ocean of gratitude. And places like this sacred site usually carry a lot of other people's energy and also projections, just as people project onto us. we project onto these sites. And that can weigh really heavy. So we can assist the land here. We can imagine that we're going to offer that this land is also resourced just like us. Let's welcome up some earth energy to hold this land. All the complexity that it has. We can bring in that cosmic energy, universal energy, and allow it to pour in and over this land. Allowing the universal energy to pierce each and every one of these stones. In the distance, we can imagine that there's a bubble. And this bubble is also grounded with its own earth cord, and it's also connected to the universe. So it's not going anywhere. And we're going to allow this land, the sacred site, to release into that bubble other people's projections. Any energetic debris, other people's fears, stories. We can allow the land to pour into that bubble. Anything that's weighing it down or anchoring it in a different time, an illusion, anything that might be suppressing the magic of this land gets to be released into that bubble. We can even assist by putting a magnet behind the bubble. So everything is drawn into that magnet, into the bubble. And this bubble, we're going to offer it again, a way to be transformed, transmuted, allowing it to be washed over with earth energy. Water, fire, and allow the fire to wash over that bubble, transmuting any fear, transmuting any karmic energies, any cords of enmeshment, projections. We're also going to bring in the element of wind for that bubble. And then let's bring in some golden cosmic light and allow it to infuse the bubble, allowing this energy to be healed, to be completed, and then burst into light. And now that we've freed up some energy here, it's not so heavy or weighed down on the land. We can wash over the land. We can imagine that it's being washed over with earth energies. And the earth's going to wash away any density, anything that's blocked or stuck. We can imagine that the earth's being washed over with water, nourishing and soothing water. Let's welcome in the element of fire. And again, the fire is going to wash over this land, moving through, transmuting any karmic energies, any density, anything that's inauthentic, any enmeshment or cords, projections. And then we're welcoming the element of wind, and allow the wind to pour and wash over the land, offering a final clearing. And we're going to welcome the energy of the sun, remembering that this was likely a celebration of the sun, this creation. It's one and the same. So let's welcome the energy of the sun over to hover over the stone circle. Allow the sun to shine on each of the stones. Offering blessings, offering healing, offering recognition, gratitude. And just as the stones celebrate the sun celebrates the stones and the land and all the beings that live here. We can allow that image to dissolve, and let's imagine a rainbow of frequencies, and just allow the rainbow frequencies to pour into the land, over the stone circles, over the hawthorn tree, any beings that live here. And we're going to give them full permission to ask for whatever they need and whatever they want from the earth and from the universe. They have full permission to heal, to evolve. And we're going to thank this land for allowing us to visit, to reconnect. If you have any questions for this land, if you would like to ask it to support you in any way and help you navigate the unknown, we can ask for that now. And again, as we say goodbye, we can make more offerings. So that can be, again, energetic offerings of love or gratitude. We can give little gifts. We're going to say goodbye for now. So as we leave this land, we can just allow that image and just to dissolve into the background and bring our attention back to our own personal aura. Let's refresh our grounding cord and bring up a brand new grounding cord. We can imagine that there's a magnet in front of us and behind us, and just start releasing energy into those magnets. We're going to, just like we did for the land, we're going to imagine that there's a bubble in front of us, and the bubble has its very own grounding cord and universal cord. And we're going to place in this bubble other people's projections, people that have projected onto us what our life should look like. And it doesn't have to be people, it could be systems that are in place, capitalist cultures, the media, manifestation gurus. Just allow any projections that onto our life story, our purpose, just allow that all to just flow into that bubble. And again, we're going to allow that entire bubble to dissolve. All the energy within that bubble, just allow it to pour into the earth, to be recycled and composted by the earth. And in this bubble, our own guides and our own vaster wisdom is going to download into this bubble really authentic and unique ways of navigating the unknown, of welcoming every season of life, allowing paradoxes to exist, welcoming oneness and how we can move through life with this concept of oneness. Just allow your guides to bring in new ways to navigate life that bring in more joy and flow with life, more alignment. We can even allow the Akashic records to download any frameworks or examples and ways of being that will enhance our life, enhance our purpose and those around us. And our guides are going to imbue this bubble with so much love and wisdom, making sure everything is authentic for us. And we can allow that bubble to integrate into our field if that feels good. And we're going to just bring our attention and our awareness to any rigidity in the body, in the aura, allowing it to show up as maybe tension in the body. If you're visual, you might actually see anchors in the aura. Just allow your inner awareness, your intuition to highlight where there might be some rigidity, suppression of self. And just bring your attention to any resistance, any tension. And the anchors. And we're just going to say thank you first, recognizing that this tension is here to protect us and it's working really hard to keep us safe. And the only way it knows how. So we're going to say thank you to this tension. And just as we say thank you, we just allow it to soften. We can bring up some earth energy to wash over this space, allowing the earth to wash away any density and moving through anything that's stuck or blocked. We're just going to bring our awareness to what's within these anchors, what's within this rigidity. Any emotions that are present. And as we find these emotions or just these anchors, maybe it feels like fear. We can notice what they look like. What shape do they have? Notice if it has a color. Notice if it has a texture. And in front of us, we're going to again imagine that there's a really big bubble. This bubble has its very own grounding cord and universal cord. So it's grounded, it's not going anywhere. And we're going to take this emotion, we're going to take this anchor, and we're going to put it into the bubble in front of us. We can do this by imagining. We can inhale it in and then exhale into the bubble in front of us. And as we look at this energy, we can ask and get really curious, how much of this energy is my authentic energy? And we might get a percentage. And just trust whatever number you hear. How much of this energy is my authentic energy? How much of this energy is ancestral? You can ask how much of this energy is societal. How much of this energy belongs to my family? And we can just get a read or a gauge on how much of this energy actually belongs to us, remembering that we can't transform energy that's not ours. So let's now give permission to any energy that's ancestral, familial, societal, any energy that's inauthentic to be released into the earth. And the energy that remains is our authentic energy. So we can ask it, what does it need from us? What does it need us to release? If there's any pictures or moments in time that are wanting to present themselves, wanting to show up, just allow them to come and sit in front of you. We're going to offer these pictures, these moments in time of healing. So let's wash over with the earth energy. Let's wash over with nourishing and soothing water. We can wash over with the element of fire. Fire is going to transmute any karmic energies, any cords of enmeshment, and then we'll also bring in the element of wind to offer final clearing to these pictures, these moments in time. And we'll welcome in that golden cosmic light, allow it to infuse these pictures, allow them to be fully healed, completed, and then burst into light. Bringing our attention back to that bubble with your own authentic energy that might be carrying complex emotions, anything that's anchoring us. We're going to offer this a healing as well. Let's wash over with earth energy. The earth's going to wash away any density, anything that's blocked or stuck. We're going to welcome in nourishing and soothing water. We're going to welcome in the element of fire and allow the fire to wash over this bubble, transmuting any contracts, any vows or agreements that are ready to be completed in the background, any karmic energies or vow or cords of enmeshment. We're also going to imagine wind washing over this bubble, offering a final clearing. And now we're going to offer a rainbow of frequencies, just allowing that rainbow of frequencies to pour in and infuse this bubble, bringing up deep earth energy into that bubble and giving this energy full permission to be totally loved and cared for. And full permission to ask for whatever it needs and whatever it wants from the earth and from the universe. And give this energy full permission to heal and evolve, welcoming that golden cosmic light to infuse the bubble, allowing this energy to be fully completed, and then watch it burst into light. And some energy may be recycled by the universe or moved back into the earth. If there is any transformed light that wants to be reintegrated, you can allow that to happen if that feels good. And now we're just going to welcome up some earth energy. So let's refresh our grounding cord. Let's bring up a brand new grounding cord. Notice what color this cord is. Again, let's bring in some magnets and just start releasing energy into those magnets in front and behind. We welcome in lots of sparkles. We can recall our own authentic energy using the symbol of that golden sun above our head. And as our energy, all of our authentic energies are recalled, they're updated, enhanced, and blessed. And we can pull that lever and imagine our authentic energies pouring into our aura, filling in any spaces, any gaps, especially where we made lots of space. And that space where we just released and transformed energy, let's welcome up earth energy into that part of our being. Notice what part of our body it is, what energy center it is. Let's bring some energy here. And most of the time we don't receive permission from our family or friends. Not everyone that knows us is going to understand our path. And out of love, they might try to steer us a different way, in a way that feels safer for them, ways that are tried and tested, but not our way. And we don't need their permission. We can have the earth's permission, remembering that the earth made our bodies, that the earth holds us today and sustains us. So let's allow ourselves to receive the earth's permission to be joyful, to celebrate and welcome joy and love into life, even when it's hard. Just allow the earth permission to be joyful, to celebrate all seasons. Allow yourself to receive that permission. And remembering that we might not always have our tribe's permission to forge a new path, but we always have the earth's permission. We can say thank you to other people's projections, but we trust ourselves. I trust myself. So let's allow ourselves last now just to receive the earth's permission to follow our highest path, the earth's permission for us to follow our own intuition, to take each step in faith and trust that the earth's love will always be there to hold you, to guide you, to catch you. And that as we flow, we always have that steady support beneath us, every thoughtful and brave step we take. And now let's allow the earth, maybe new ways of being. Let the earth share with us new frameworks for what it means to living in alignment with our higher self, how to flow through life and sustain ourselves and sustain others in ways that bring joy. And just allow the earth to restructure your aura, to flow through all of your channels and your energy centers. That's welcoming more universal energy and sparkles to just pour over us, moving through our energy field. And one last time, let's recall our authentic energies in that beautiful golden sun. We're going to recall any fragments of our identity and our soul, and we're going to allow this sun to bless, heal, empower and update our authentic energies. And then just pull that lever and allow them to flow over and pour into your being, your aura, moving through our energy centers, taking up space. And we're going to come back into our group container, send back each other's energy, recall our energy from other people's spaces. Let's give thanks and send blessings to the universe, thanking it for its contributions. Let's say thanks and give gratitude and blessings to the earth. And let's thank our guides that guide us along our destiny, along our path, and send our guides blessings. And just as we bless them, allow them to bless us right back. We're going to allow this work to flow back in time, sending it back through our lineage, so that our lineage, our ancestors, can also learn how to navigate the unknown through devotion rather than fear and sacrifice. We're going to allow this energy to heal our present reality. And we can also send this healing energy forward in time so that we're aligned with our highest path or the timeline that is most beneficial and enjoyable and aligned with our destiny. We can allow this work to reset our self-concept and identity, and also to reset our belief structures and reality. And we can also allow this work to heal and evolve our relationships and how we move through relationships. So whenever you're ready, you can take your time to open your eyes and come back to the chat. And you're more than welcome to watch this video again if you ever need to come back into your center so that you can navigate the unknown with grace. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.